In 1918, the largest manufacturer in the world picks up the telephone and calls a young tool and die maker in Wisconsin. Henry Ford needs a drill. Not any drill. Ford's assembly lines in Detroit are producing automobiles at a scale that no factory in history has achieved, and the drills his workers are using are destroying them. The standard portable electric drill weighs over 10 pounds. It requires 2 hands and a chest brace to operate. A worker drilling holes into automobile frames for 8 hours a day is exhausted by noon. His shoulders ache. His wrists swell. His output drops with every hour. Chrysler and General Motors are nipping at Ford's heels. He needs lighter, faster, cheaper tools on his production line. He needs a drill a man can hold in one hand. The tool and die maker's name is A.H. Petersen. He is young, talented, and unknown outside a small circle of Wisconsin fabricators. He accepts Ford's commission. Petersen studies the existing drills on the market. The dominant model is the Black & Decker, the pistol grip drill patented in 1917. It weighs roughly 8 to 10 pounds. It is the best portable drill available. Petersen looks at the design and sees what can be removed. He moves the trigger behind the motor. The repositioning allows a smaller motor housing. The smaller housing drops the weight dramatically. He uses a series-type Westinghouse motor, compact and efficient. The result is a 1/4-inch capacity portable electric drill that weighs 5 pounds, half the weight of anything else on the market, light enough for one-handed operation, strong enough for industrial use. Petersen calls it the hole shooter. He doesn't call it a drill or a boring device. He calls it the hole shooter because the customer doesn't need a drill. The customer needs a hole. The name tells you exactly what the tool does. It is the first industrial drill in the world that can be operated with one hand. Petersen begins manufacturing the hole shooter and selling it to the construction market. The price is $42. Adjusted for inflation, that is roughly $600 in today's money. The tool is not cheap, but the men who use it understand the value immediately. A drill that weighs 5 pounds instead of 10 pounds means a worker can operate it for an entire shift without destroying his body. The productivity gain is not incremental, it is structural. One man with a hole shooter outproduces 2 men with a conventional drill. In 1922, Petersen partners with a businessman named Albert F. Siebert. Together they form the A.H. Petersen Company. The company has one product, one factory, and one mission: sell the hole shooter to every construction site, every factory, and every assembly line in America. They have 1 year. In 1923, a fire destroys the manufacturing facility. The factory burns to the ground. The machines are gone, the inventory is gone, and the patterns, the tooling, the fixtures, everything that a precision tool manufacturer needs to produce its product is reduced to ash and twisted metal. Arson is suspected. Charges are never filed. The cause of the fire is never officially determined. What is determined is the financial consequence. The A.H. Petersen Company cannot rebuild. The insurance, if there is any, is not enough. The economy is sliding into a recession that will devastate small manufacturers across the Midwest. Between the fire and the downturn, the company is bankrupt within months. A.H. Petersen, the man who invented the hole shooter, the man who accepted Henry Ford's commission and built the first one-handed industrial drill in the world, walks away. He does not rebuild, he does not start over. He looks at the ashes of his factory and decides he is done. The company is auctioned off. Albert F. Siebert, the business partner, buys the remains at auction. He gets the name, the patent, the hole shooter design, and whatever survived the fire. What he does not get is Petersen. In 1924, Siebert renames the company. He calls it the Milwaukee Electric Tool Corporation. The name is chosen for the city, not for any grand ambition. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a factory town, a working town, a town where men build things with their hands and expect their tools to survive the shift. The company has almost nothing. A patent and a product design, but no factory, no inventory, and no workforce. Siebert has to rebuild from the ground up. He does it the only way he can. He goes back to the beginning. During the first years of operation, the Milwaukee Electric Tool Corporation survives not by manufacturing tools, but by repairing them. other companies' tools, drills made by Black and Decker, by unnamed competitors, by anyone whose equipment breaks on a job site in southeastern Wisconsin. Construction crews, factory foremen, maintenance workers, they all bring their damaged tools to Milwaukee's shop. A drill with a burned-out motor, a grinder with stripped gears, a sander that sparks when you plug it in. Milwaukee fixes them. The revenue keeps the lights on. But the repair work does something more valuable than generate income. It generates intelligence. Every tool that comes through the shop is a lesson. Milwaukee's engineers take apart competitors' products. They see how the gears are cut. They see where the bearings fail. They see which switches burn out first. They see the corners that other manufacturers cut and the weaknesses those cuts create. The repair shop becomes a laboratory for understanding what the market needs and what the market is not getting. The same pattern that defines Makita in Japan, Festool in Germany, and Bosch in Stuttgart plays out again in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The repair shop is the training ground. The companies that learn to build by learning to fix build the things that last. Milwaukee uses the intelligence from the repair shop to rebuild the whole shooter with better gears, better switches, better brushes, better cords, and better bearings. Every component that failed in a competitor's tool is redesigned in Milwaukee's version. The drill improves with every iteration because Milwaukee has seen firsthand how every other drill fails. In 1930, Milwaukee obtains a United States government equipment specification rating for its redesigned electric drill. The rating is significant. It means that the federal government has tested the tool and certified that it meets military-grade performance standards. The US Navy takes notice. It examines Milwaukee's manufacturing standards and decides to base its own portable tool specifications on Milwaukee's practices. The Navy does not do this casually. Military tool specifications exist because tools fail in combat conditions. A drill that stops working on a ship under fire is not an inconvenience. It is a threat to the vessel and every man aboard. The Navy needs tools that function in heat, in cold, in salt spray, in vibration, under sustained use, without failure. Milwaukee meets the standard. Through the 1930s, Milwaukee expands its product line methodically. Portable hand grinders, electric hammers, sander grinders designed for the metalworking industry. A lightweight, single-horsepower sander grinder that weighs 15 pounds and survives abuse that destroys competitors' products. The tool is designed specifically for welders. Welders do not treat their tools gently. A grinder used in a shipyard or a fabrication shop is dropped, kicked, buried under metal shavings, and run for hours at a time in conditions that range from freezing to oven hot. Milwaukee's sander grinder survives all of it. Welders adopt Milwaukee tools. Metalworkers adopt Milwaukee tools. The reputation builds not through advertising campaigns or trade show presentations, but through survival on the factory floor. The tools that come back to the shop for repair are not Milwaukee tools, they are the other brands. In the late 1930s, Milwaukee introduces a 3/4-inch convertible drill that can be reconfigured as a standard 3/4-inch drill or used in its convertible form for specialized applications. The tool's versatility drives commercial success and leads to the development of shorter, lighter precision drills that push the company further into the professional industrial market. Milwaukee is no longer just a drill company. It is a professional tool company. The product range covers drilling, grinding, sanding, and hammering. Each product is built to the same standard. Each product is designed for the professional who cannot afford a tool failure on the job site. Then the war comes. World War II transforms Milwaukee Electric Tool Corporation from a regional manufacturer into a national defense asset. The United States is building the largest military air fleet in history. Boeing, Lockheed, Douglas, Consolidated, North American, every aircraft manufacturer in the country is running 3 shifts to produce bombers, fighters, and transport planes. Every aircraft requires thousands of drilled holes. The aluminium fuselage skins, the aluminium frame ribs, the rivet holes that hold the structure together. Each hole must be precise. Each hole must be clean. A burr or a misalignment weakens the joint. A weak joint fails in flight. A failure in flight kills the crew. The hole shooter becomes vital to the manufacture of military aircraft. Women who have never held a power tool before, the workers who will later be called Rosie the Riveters, are trained on Milwaukee drills. Many of them are fresh off farms and out of kitchens, learning to operate precision industrial equipment in a matter of weeks. The tools must be reliable enough for untrained operators working under wartime urgency. They must be precise enough for aircraft-grade tolerances. They must survive 3 shifts of continuous use in a factory that never stops. The United States military, satisfied that Milwaukee's tools meet combat-grade specifications, allows the company to stamp its products with the military inspection seal. The seal is not a marketing gimmick. It is a certification that the tool has been tested, inspected, and approved for military use under the most demanding conditions the government can define. Milwaukee is one of the few portable tool manufacturers in America to receive this designation. The war also drives Milwaukee into new product categories. The military needs tools that can be used aboard ships, in maintenance depots, in forward operating bases where conditions are brutal and replacement parts are unavailable. Milwaukee responds by engineering tools for survival. Every component is overbuilt, every housing reinforced, every bearing rated for conditions that exceed civilian use. The war ends, the military contracts wind down, but the reputation earned during wartime follows Milwaukee into the peacetime economy. Every veteran who used a Milwaukee tool in a shipyard, an aircraft factory, or a military workshop remembers the name. Every foreman who ran a wartime production line remembers which tools survived the shift and which ones did not. The brand enters the post-war construction boom with a credibility that advertising cannot buy and competitors cannot replicate. Milwaukee does not need to tell tradespeople that its tools are military grade. The tradespeople already know. In 1949, Milwaukee introduces 2 products that define the company's identity for the next half-century. The first is a spring clutch mechanism added to Milwaukee sanders, grinders, and circular saws. The clutch reduces tool recoil, the sudden backward jerk that happens when a grinding disc catches or a saw blade binds. Recoil is not a nuisance. It is an injury risk. A grinder that kicks back can break a wrist. A circular saw that binds can throw the operator off a scaffold. Milwaukee's spring clutch absorbs the shock mechanically, protecting the operator from the tool's own physics. The second product is the half-inch right-angle drill. The right-angle drill is designed for one purpose: drilling holes in tight spaces where a conventional drill cannot physically fit. Plumbers working between floor joists, electricians drilling through wall studs behind existing wiring, HVAC installers boring holes in ductwork mounted flush against a ceiling. The right-angle drill puts the chuck at 90 degrees to the motor, allowing the operator to reach into spaces that are too narrow for a standard pistol grip drill. Plumbers and electricians adopt the right-angle drill immediately. It becomes a category-defining tool. The trades that work in the tightest, most inaccessible spaces in a building, the spaces between walls, between floors, inside ceilings, behind panels, now have a tool designed specifically for their work. Milwaukee has identified a niche that no other manufacturer has addressed and filled it with a product so precisely engineered for its purpose that the tool and the trade become inseparable. Then, in 1951, Milwaukee does it again. The company unveils the Sawzall, the first portable hacksaw in the world with a reciprocating mechanism. Before the Sawzall, cutting through a pipe or a stud inside a wall requires one of 2 approaches. The first is a hacksaw, a manual tool that requires the operator to grip the frame in both hands and push the blade back and forth through the material. The work is slow, exhausting, and imprecise. The second is to remove whatever is in the way, carry the material to a stationary saw, cut it, and return to the work area. Neither approach is acceptable for a plumber who needs to cut a section of copper pipe inside a wall cavity 3 feet from the nearest opening. The Sawzall eliminates both approaches. The blade moves back and forth in a straight line at high speed, powered by an electric motor. The operator presses the tool against the material and pulls the trigger. The blade cuts through metal, wood, plastic, pipe, conduit, drywall, nails, screws, and anything else in its path. The Sawzall is not designed for precision. It is not designed for beauty. It is designed for demolition, for cutting through a wall to run new plumbing, for removing a section of cast iron pipe that has been cemented in place for 50 years, for cutting through nails embedded in old-growth lumber during a renovation that should have started a decade earlier, for every task where the operator needs to destroy what exists so that something new can be built. The name Sawzall tells you what the tool does. It saws all: metal, wood, plastic, drywall, pipe, conduit, cast iron, copper. The blade does not discriminate. The tool becomes so ubiquitous that the brand name replaces the generic term. Tradespeople across America do not ask for a reciprocating saw. They ask for a Sawzall. The same linguistic shift that happened to Bosch with hammer drills, to DeWalt with radial arm saws, and to Xerox with photocopiers happens to Milwaukee with reciprocating saws. The brand name becomes the noun. Milwaukee develops a full line of blades designed for every material a tradesperson encounters, from wood-cutting blades to metal-cutting blades to demolition blades that can chew through nail-embedded lumber without losing their teeth. The tool and the blade system are engineered together, not assembled from incompatible parts. The Sawzall, its signature red housing, and its distinctive red metal carrying case become the most recognizable power tool on American demolition and renovation sites. A generation of tradespeople grow up reaching for the red case before starting any job that requires something to be taken apart. The Sawzall does for cutting what the hole shooter did for drilling. It identifies a task that professionals perform daily, in conditions that are physically demanding and poorly served by existing tools, and it solves that task with a product so precisely designed for the purpose that nothing else comes close. Through the 1960s and 1970s, Milwaukee continues the innovation cascade that had defined the company since the rebuilt hole shooter. In 1965, the company moves from its original headquarters on State Street in the city of Milwaukee to a 212,000 square foot facility in nearby Brookfield, Wisconsin. Brookfield will remain the company's headquarters for more than half a century. In the 1970s, Milwaukee releases the Hole Hawg, the first drill ever designed specifically for drilling large holes through the studs and joists used in new home construction. Electricians and plumbers who need to run cable and pipe through wooden framing now have a tool built for that exact task. The Hole Hawg is aggressive, overpowered by most standards, and infamous for its torque. The tool bites into wood with such force that an unprepared operator can have it ripped from his hands. There are stories of apprentices being spun around on ladders because they didn't brace properly. Professionals learn to respect it. They grip it with both hands, plant their feet, and let the drill do the work. They do not replace it with anything else. In the same era, Milwaukee introduces the Magnum Hole Shooter, the company's first half-inch professional pistol drill, and becomes the first American manufacturer to produce a 4.5-inch angle grinder. Each product follows the same philosophy: identify the trade, identify the task, build the tool that solves the task better than anything on the market. Sell it to the professional who knows the difference. Then the ownership changes begin, and the company that a fire could not destroy is nearly destroyed by boardrooms instead. In 1975, after more than 50 years of independence, Milwaukee Electric Tool Corporation is sold. The buyer is Amstar Corporation. Amstar's primary business is Domino Sugar. A sugar refining conglomerate now owns the manufacturer of the hole shooter, the Sawzall, and the Hole Hawg. The acquisition is pure conglomerate logic, the mid-1970s theory that a diversified portfolio of unrelated businesses provides stability through market cycles. Sugar goes down, Tools go up. Tools go down, sugar goes up. The theory is elegant. The reality is that a sugar company has no idea how to invest in power tool engineering, no understanding of what tradespeople need, and no incentive to fund the kind of long-term R&D that built the Sawzall. Milwaukee becomes one line item in a portfolio of line items. In 1986, Merrill Lynch Capital Partners acquires Milwaukee from Amstar. The company moves from corporate conglomerate ownership to Wall Street private equity ownership. The private equity model is straightforward. Buy a company using borrowed money, reduce costs aggressively, increase short-term margins, sell the company at a higher price than you paid, ideally within 3 to 5 years. The engineering culture that built the hole shooter and invented the Sawzall is not the priority. The margin is the priority. Research and development budgets are evaluated not by what they produce in 10 years, but by what they cost this quarter. In 1991, Milwaukee releases the Super Sawzall. The tool features a built-in counterbalance mechanism, a gear-protecting clutch, and 5 different patents. It sets a new worldwide standard for vibration-free reciprocating saws. The Super Sawzall proves that Milwaukee's engineers are still capable of world-class innovation, even under ownership that treats them as a cost center rather than a creative force. The product succeeds despite the ownership structure, not because of it. Through the 1990s, Milwaukee develops a new line of miter saws and expands into 18-volt contractor cordless tools, all of which use the same battery and charger system. The cordless strategy mirrors what Makita is doing in Japan. But under Merrill Lynch ownership, the investment required to compete at the frontier of battery technology is not available. The cordless line is competent. It is not revolutionary. In 1995, Atlas Copco, a Swedish industrial manufacturer with a strong presence in industrial tools and compressors, buys Milwaukee from Merrill Lynch. Atlas Copco is a legitimate industrial company. The acquisition makes strategic sense on paper. In practice, Milwaukee is one brand inside a large portfolio of brands, competing for investment dollars against Atlas Copco's own priorities. The Swedish parent company treats Milwaukee as a mature business to be managed for profit, not as an innovation engine to be fueled with R&D investment. Under Amstar, Merrill Lynch, and Atlas Copco, spanning 3 decades from 1975 to 2005, Milwaukee Electric Tool Corporation is treated as an asset to be optimized, not as a productive system to be developed. Decisions are shaped by quarterly performance reports, debt servicing schedules, and arbitrage opportunities, not by the trades, not by the men who hold the tools, and certainly not by the engineering teams who designed the hole shooter and the Sawzall and the whole hog and the Super Sawzall. By the time Atlas Copco sells Milwaukee in 2005, the company's employment in Wisconsin has dropped to a few hundred workers. The suburban Brookfield plant has been hollowed out. The manufacturing capacity that once served the United States Navy has been reduced to a skeleton. The product line is stagnant. The brand that built military-grade tools during World War II, that invented the Sawzall and the whole hog, that earned the Navy's inspection seal, that set the standard for portable professional tools in America for half a century, is withering under the accumulated weight of 30 years of ownership by companies that did not understand what they had bought. In 2005, Tektronic Industries, a Hong Kong-based multinational, purchases Milwaukee for $626.6 million. TTI also owns Ryobi, AEG, Hoover, Dirt Devil, and a portfolio of consumer and industrial brands. For observers who have watched Milwaukee pass from Amstar to Merrill Lynch to Atlas Copco, the sale to a Hong Kong holding company looks like the final chapter. Offshoring, decline, and irrelevance. The pattern that has destroyed dozens of American manufacturing brands playing out one more time. What follows instead is a reversal. TTI invests aggressively in Milwaukee's engineering. Research and development spending increases dramatically. The rate of patent generation accelerates to more than 1 new patent per week. The Brookfield facility, which had been hollowed out under previous owners, is converted into a global R&D center. New engineers are hired. New testing labs are built. The focus shifts from cost reduction to product innovation, specifically to battery technology and cordless platforms. The M18 platform launches an 18-volt lithium-ion battery system that powers an expanding ecosystem of cordless tools. The strategy is deliberate and borrowed from the consumer electronics playbook. Create a platform, lock users into the battery ecosystem, then expand the platform into every trade category imaginable. Once a contractor has invested in M18 batteries and chargers, every additional M18 tool is cheaper than switching to a competitor's system. The switching cost is not the tool, it is the batteries. A professional who owns 6 M18 batteries at $150 each has $900 invested in the platform before buying a single additional tool. The M12 platform follows, a compact 12-volt system for lighter duty work. Service technicians, electricians, and HVAC installers who need tools that fit in a belt pouch or a service van adopt the M12 immediately. 2 platforms, 2 voltage levels, 2 ecosystems, and between them, they cover every professional use case from precision installation to heavy demolition. Milwaukee does not release tools incrementally. It releases them constantly. New products every month, new categories every quarter. Impact drivers, heated jackets, cordless lighting, drain cleaning machines, pipe threading machines, press tools for plumbing, utility crimpers for electrical work, concrete vibrators, backpack sprayers. The product line expands from traditional drilling and cutting into every trade that touches a building, and several that do not. A tree service company is using Milwaukee chainsaws. A plumbing contractor is threading pipe with a Milwaukee machine that runs on the same battery as his drill. A city maintenance crew is using Milwaukee utility tools to service streetlights. If a professional holds a tool, Milwaukee wants that tool to be read. The Packout modular storage system launches. Storage, a direct answer to Festool's Cisterna. Interlocking, stackable, weatherproof tool, storage cases, and organizers. The Packout system does for job site organization what the M18 battery does for cordless tools. It creates a physical ecosystem that makes switching to a competitor more expensive with every additional component purchased. A contractor with a truck full of Packout cases is not switching to DeWalt Tough System cases, any more than a contractor with 6 M18 batteries is switching to Makita LXT. Employment in Wisconsin rebounds from a low of just over 200 workers in 2008 to nearly 4,000 by the 2020s. Total U.S. employment exceeds 10,000. A 370,000 square foot office opens in downtown Milwaukee in 2022, bringing over 1,000 employees back to the city that gave the company its name. Revenue grows from roughly $500 million in the early 2000s to multiple billions under TTI ownership. Milwaukee becomes TTI's flagship brand and the largest contributor to the parent company's $14.6 billion in total annual revenue reported in 2024. In the first half of 2025, Milwaukee achieved sales growth of 11.9% in local currency, continuing a decade-long streak of double-digit annual growth. The company that was hollowed out by 3 decades of financial ownership is rebuilt by a 4th owner who decides to invest rather than extract. Today, Milwaukee Electric Tool Corporation is headquartered in Brookfield, Wisconsin. It manufactures tools in the United States, China, Mexico, Vietnam, and Germany. The M18 and M12 battery platforms power hundreds of compatible tools. The Packout modular storage system has become an industry standard on American job sites. The red color of Milwaukee tools is as recognizable on a construction site as DeWalt's yellow or Makita's teal. In 2022, Milwaukee invested $206 million in Wisconsin research and development facilities alone. New hand tools, pliers, and screwdrivers are manufactured at a 95,000 square foot facility in West Bend, Wisconsin, that opened the same year. The company that had been reduced to a few hundred Wisconsin employees under Atlas Copco is now one of the largest employers in southeastern Wisconsin. The company is not independent, it is a wholly owned subsidiary of Tektronic Industries, a publicly traded Hong Kong corporation. TTI was founded in 1985 by German entrepreneur Horst Julius Pudwill, who at 80 years old still serves as executive chairman. Every strategic decision about Milwaukee's future is ultimately governed by TTI's board. The quarterly earnings pressure that drives every publicly traded conglomerate drives TTI. Revenue must grow, margins must expand, shareholders must be satisfied. The tension between engineering excellence and financial extraction, the same tension that hollowed Milwaukee out under its previous 3 owners, exists under TTI as well. The difference so far is that TTI has chosen to resolve the tension through investment rather than extraction. Whether that choice persists through the next economic downturn, the next change in TTI leadership, or the next shift in shareholder priorities is a question that only time will answer. In 2023, US lawmakers questioned Milwaukee over allegations that suppliers may have used forced Uyghur labor in the manufacture of work gloves. Milwaukee stated it does not tolerate forced labor and found no evidence to support the claims. The scrutiny reflects the inescapable complexity of manufacturing globally while maintaining an American identity. The tools are designed in Wisconsin. Many are manufactured in Asia. The brand says Milwaukee. The ownership says Hong Kong. The factories say 5 countries. The identity is layered in ways that A.H. Petersen and A.F. Siebert, standing in the ashes of a burned factory in 1923, could never have imagined. Trace the line from 1918 to today and the pattern is unlike any other power tool story. A man builds a drill because Henry Ford asks him to. The drill is the lightest, most practical industrial power tool in the world. The factory burns. Arson is suspected but never proven. The inventor walks away. His business partner buys the ashes at auction and renames the company after the city where it was born. The company survives its first years by repairing other companies' tools. The repair shop teaches the engineers how every competitor's product fails. The engineers use that knowledge to build tools that do not fail. The Navy certifies them. The military stamps them. The Sawzall is invented. The whole hog is invented. The right-angle drill is invented. The super Sawzall sets a global standard. The company becomes the professional tradesperson's first choice for the hardest jobs in the hardest conditions. Then the company is sold, and sold again, and sold again, and sold again. A sugar company, an investment bank, a Swedish conglomerate. Each owner treats the company as a financial instrument, not as a manufacturer. The workforce shrinks from thousands to hundreds. The factory is hollowed out. The engineering pipeline slows to a crawl. The brand that the US Navy built its own specifications around appears to be dying. The slow death that has claimed every other American tool brand passed through the private equity machine. Then a Hong Kong holding company buys it and does the opposite of what everyone expects. It invests, it hires, it engineers, it patents more than one new invention per week. It builds a downtown office in the city the company had abandoned 50 years earlier. The workforce rebounds, the revenue explodes, the company returns to Milwaukee. The fire that destroyed the factory in 1923 was supposed to be the end. A.H. Petersen believed it was. He looked at the ashes and walked away. He left behind a patent, a product design, and a name that nobody would remember. He was wrong about all 3. The patent has been improved 1,000 times. The product design has been adapted into hundreds of cordless tools powered by battery technology that Petersen could not have conceived. The name is printed on red tools carried on every construction site in America, recognized by every tradesperson in every trade that touches a building. The fire was not the end. The fire was the beginning. Everything Milwaukee became, it became because a factory burned in 1923, and a man named Siebert bought the ashes and decided to rebuild from nothing. Born from a commission by Henry Ford, destroyed by a fire that may have been set deliberately, rebuilt from a repair shop that fixed other companies' failures, certified by the United States Navy, sold 4 times to owners who did not understand it, saved by a 5th who did. The hole shooter is still in the catalogue, 100 years later, still shooting holes.